In sports, an assist can be just as beautiful and just as important as a goal. Picture a no-look pass splitting two defenders and leading to an amazing dunk, or a crisp move of the puck that sets up a game-winning goal, or an athletic trainer stepping off the field and onto the front lines during a pandemic. In December of 2020, Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf ordered a pause for all high school sports until the new year. That meant the Lehigh Valley Health Network's head athletic trainer in the Hazleton Area School District, Mike Bannon, had a choice. He could take some paid time off or help out the nurses and doctors battling COVID-19 at his local hospital in Hazleton. Sick of all the Zoom calls and feeling confident that he was young enough and healthy enough to survive if he got sick, Bannon decided to help out.
It was definitely an eye-opener. What you see and experience on the street and not in the hospital or inpatient setting is definitely a lot different than what's actually going on. I was on the COVID floor, I wasn't on the ICU, so we didn't have any ventilators or anything. But the amount of people on oxygen and needing different medications to get through, fortunately, the nurses and the doctors at the hospital are doing a great job, and most of the people are ending as success stories. But obviously, it looks like the older you are and the more ailments you have and the previous medical conditions, sometimes those results are not as well. So I did see people that we wheeled down in a chair to go to their car and walk home and see their kids and play with their kids, and then obviously there was people that unfortunately did not make it as well.
This was Bannon's second time helping out in a hospital during the pandemic. When high school sports were stopped during the late winter of 2020, he worked at Lehigh Valley Hospital Cedar Crest, screening people coming into the hospital for COVID-19.
Kind of sports aside, I definitely want to give a shout out to all the frontline workers. I was just a very, very small part of it for a couple of weeks. But the doctors and the nurses aides have been at this from the beginning. Let's be real, they're all tired, they're all mentally burnt because it's just never ending. As soon as someone gets discharged, somebody else is coming in as soon as the bed's cleaned and the rooms are sanitized. So it's a never ending flow of people. So just please use common sense. We'll get through this thing. And I get my second shot of the vaccine tomorrow. Like I said before, I'm by no means a doctor, but if you have it available, please get it, and hopefully we can get back to relatively normalcy. Obviously, if you have any allergies to anything in it, don't get it, but if you're able to, please do.
During his time on the COVID-19 floor of Lehigh Valley Hospital Hazleton, Mike Bannon took patients' vitals and escorted them where they needed to go for tests. He helped out the nurses any way he could, but a lot of his time was spent interacting with the patients.
I'm one of those people, I think sometimes I talk to the wall and it answers back. I definitely consider myself a people person. So like the first day there was this elderly lady there, and she was confused. I don't know exactly what was going on, but I think definitely being in the hospital for 5 days and your family can't come see you or anything could definitely be hard, especially those who don't have a big family. So we were watching a movie, we were watching Polar Express. I was in her room for like 2 or 3 hours just talking to her, and it definitely made her day. I think the hardest part, obviously they're battling the virus while they're there, the mental aspect of being in a hospital where most people don't want to be, and your family can't come in. They can deliver and drop stuff off and we would bring it up to them, but outside of a phone or doing either a Zoom call or FaceTime on their phone, there's no people interaction besides us.
When it comes to care for a patient in a hospital or an injured athlete on the field or court, a calming word never hurts.
I think having somebody that can be that calming effect and just talk to them and tell them what's going on. Obviously, I can tell them a lot more what's going on from the athletic training standpoint. And you give me a knee that you hurt or an ankle or a shoulder, I can definitely coach you up and get you through it a lot easier than the stuff with COVID. But just reassuring people that they got the best doctors on their side and the best nursing staff, and they're doing everything they can do to make sure they're okay.
Every once in a while, the topic of conversation would wander into Bannon's wheelhouse.
For a week or so, I had two guys down at the end of the one hall, and they had football on. One had college basketball, one had football, so I would always sneak down there to see what the scores were. The one guy was funny. He said, "I hate watching the news right now, so I watch history." I look at the TV, and he's got like ESPN Classics on or something, and it was like a Miami Florida State game or something from like 1992. I just started laughing.
When Bannon and his athletic trainers were around sports during the fall season, they helped keep things running smoothly. Once games and matches started, the Hazleton Area School District did not have one athlete test positive for COVID-19 during the fall season. Bannon credits the Lehigh Valley Health Network for being prepared with a plan, and the players and coaches for buying into that plan. He's hopeful that winter sports can also be safe and successful, and that athletics will provide Hazleton area athletes with more than just an opportunity to win championships.
But talking to some parents, and their kids are having a really hard time emotionally, and sports have been their out to get out of the house and have some kind of normalcy. So I think athletics, besides from a physical active standpoint and keeping people busy and active, they're with their friends, they're with their coaches. Even though it may not be a normal year, you're there. I think that's the biggest take home, is the emotional and mental aspect. I don't know the numbers, but I've seen stuff and studies done where suicides and other kind of mental health issues are spiking. Drug use, alcohol use amongst teens went up because kids are not in their normal routine. I think our coaches have done a great job making sure our kids are okay. Sometimes it's just taking the kids aside and saying, "Hey, is everything all right? Do you need anything?" I think society right now has definitely gone a little bit crazy, and we need to do that for everybody.
So this is how Mike Bannon helped keep high school athletes safe and active, and gave doctors and nurses an assist during the pandemic. His is one of many stories as we all drive toward the goal of a more healthy and more normal 2021. For SSPTV Sports, I'm Ken Kara.